show. Yep,
Our
we're
our
live.
spectacular Monday. Mikey, we're live. Michael Knight down here in Pasadena, California. How the heck are you?
I'm fine. That's where I am. He's New York. Vinnie, he's in Seattle. We're here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at about 10 past 10. Vinnie says we take on the world. I think it's the other way around. I think the world keeps trying to take us on, and we're not playing that game.
World can't take us on, man. We're too
We're not
cool
playing that game.
for the world to take us on. We
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 just,
take on the world.
we just, go ahead.
This is as the rat czar says, this is our city. You're just hanging out here, and we're gonna get rid of you. The new rat czar in New York City.
I welcome his zeal, but if you think you can get rid of the rats in New York City, well, that's just what. It's just a thought. It's not reality yet. So let's just enjoy that thought. It ain't happening. How about it's like getting rid of the rats in North Beach? Do you think it can be done? Well,
Well, I'm
theoretically,
sure it could be done, but then what? I always worry about, well, you get rid of the rats, and like, what part of the ecosystem have you now upset? It's like when they got rid of all of the cats in a certain place. Well, then all the rats came back. Well, now all the rats are back. I mean, it's one thing works in hand with the other, and that all works because somebody is smarter than man. But man comes along and says, well, I'm smarter, so I'm going to take this species out. But then something happens.
I would put my money if you take away the rats in New York City, and there are 0 rats starting this morning. I would say you would see a proliferation of 2 things: coyotes in downtown Manhattan and raccoons at night running the streets in
Yeah,
bands and packs that are convincing. And a good sized raccoon, which is not the size of a German Shepherd, but built low to the ground and full of vim and vigor. Yeah, if you ever corner a raccoon, you've got yourself much more of a problem than the raccoon has. If you've ever seen that sort of thing happen,
yeah, I have, and it's not pretty. I mean, they will take apart a large sized dog without too much of a problem.
but if you leave them alone, they can be interesting cohabitants of your area. Come to the window, get a bit of Mama's pumpkin pie on Thanksgiving. They can be rather sweet.
You can tell too.
You know who's really cute when they're little, and this is the time of season when they're all being born in California. Skunks. Skunks before they grow to teenagehood don't have the scent glands fully developed, and they're absolutely adorable. This is that one problem. It's coming. You don't know what day it's going to get there, but you know when the skunk hits puberty because the whole town finds out at the same time.
Yeah. It's and if you have several skunks, um, well, one town in California has installed a skunk alarm. I don't know if you've heard this yet, but there's a Harmony, California, which is right on the coast by the Hearst Castle.
Harmony and me make pretty good company.
Living on an island on a boat upon the sea, looking for an island in a boat upon the sea, I should say. Anyway, the skunk alarm
Is no skunk can put up with that. If you've ever been sprayed by a skunk or tried to treat your dog who was fully sprayed by the skunk, the scent in its purest form is so strong that you can't keep your feet. It is absolutely debilitating. All your senses are on stop, and you just want it to go away. You will do anything. You'll make any deal in that instant for freedom from the smell. The intensity of it is beyond belief. If you haven't smelt it and you don't believe me, well, your time's coming.
just drive around the roads at night, and you'll run into it.
Uh,
Somewhere, somehow, some way, every year. I would hazard to say a number of skunks are killed by automobiles. And the thing is, I don't know how they manage this, but when you hit them, the first thing that comes out is the
is
scent.
it? I've found out why they are hit so often, why you see dead skunks in the road, why they smell so badly. The skunk has no natural enemies, so it sees a 1958 Chevrolet Bel Air bearing down on it, and the last thing the skunk does is doesn't run out of the way like a deer would, doesn't fly away like a crow would. He turns and says, "Come and get me." That's
Yeah,
it.
that's not a good. I mean, you have to have some defense to go with the offense.
Yeah, well, They've never had a chance to build it in because the only things that can take them out are automobiles or trucks for that matter. But
Yeah, things without sensory glands, I guess.
and some dogs insist on getting into it, and no,
Depends on the size of the dog, man. I mean, I've seen dogs where the eagles come and lift them up with the talons and fly away with them.
those are
Make dinner
decorative
out of them.
dogs. Those are decorative dogs, are they? Are they not?
No, I think they're like real. I mean, I've seen video on YouTube of somebody with a chihuahua, just sitting there, and all of a sudden the eagle sees it and comes down, or the vulture sees it, comes down, grabs it, and flies away.
Now he's got a talons full because if you've ever dealt with a chihuahua, they are non-negotiable animals. They have a set mental condition that they do not vary from. And if you have two dogs, if you have a big Great Dane and a Chihuahua, who do you think's the boss?
Oh, the chihuahua's the boss.
The
But
Chihuahua's
when
the
when
boss.
you're hanging, 50, 60 feet in the air, the scenario, even for a chihuahua, turns quickly.
He doesn't believe it, but it has turned.
Yeah, he may not be in his mind. He may still be. Oh, this is just going to end in a second here. As soon as I get loud and ratty about it, but the vulture has a different idea there. He just sinks the talons in a little more till he feels something beating, and boom, boom. That's it. See you later.
That's it. It's all
Been
over.
fun. Let's just drop you off here, and I'll go get something else for a second course,
Go get your brother.
and I'll be back.
But
But that's not what we want to talk about today, Mikey,
I
because
guess not. No, no, that's too. We veered off course.
we didn't just veer; we skidded down the hill.
Well, you went to Canada. You want to talk about how you felt when you were there?
I did go to Canada, Mikey. Imagine that. I said to myself, I need a day off from America. Now, uh, after hearing the news of the birthday party shoot, we were now shooting up birthday parties.
Well, you in Canada, you missed all that. We try to we're scheduling our shootings for the weekend so coverage can be equal among them all. But if you have a shooting plan, you've got to get your date in early because we're having 3, maybe 4 a weekend. And if you want coverage, timing is everything.
It can't be on Friday night. That's the time that the Republicans introduce all their dirty work. So we don't want you shooting on Friday night. We prefer you shooting on Thursday because this way the talk shows are off on Friday. They've already taped on Thursday, so it won't make them. The best you're going to get is Frederica Whitfield on CNN on the weekend.
And that's a
Uh,
lightweight approach.
it's more than a lightweight approach. It's almost a non. You'd be. She's going to be the reason AI makes it into the weekends.
It's happy talk without very much happy.
I don't mean to offend anybody, and far be it from me to criticize people's work. But good God, if she's presenting it, not good.
One of the talk show hosts from CNN went over to MSNBC. God, I can't remember her name, but on her debut, she had a shooting. So her Monday morning shot, her first day at MSNBC, her first show, she's got all the gun experts that we've seen so often, all the pursuit experts, all the medical experts,
Yeah,
all the psychological experts. She'd haul them all out and put them on her show. And I thought, gee, what an introduction. It's a good thing she wasn't a rookie. But at the same time, when you're doing the first show in a new environment, you don't know where the button is. You don't know where the bathroom is. And then you're doing special coverage of another shooting, and you know how to do that. You've done a couple, but still in a new environment, it's new territory.
yeah. At this point, I mean, it has to be. I don't know if it's the easiest thing in media because I can't imagine it. Well, I do imagine it. I don't have to imagine. I know. I was on the air the night of Columbine doing a talk show, and that was that was a wide awakening, not a rude awakening, but a wide awakening because you really had to think about and consult with people about how you, as somebody who was very new to not the radio business, but the talk radio business in a general sense. You know how to do sports, But doing general talk is very, very different, as you know, from doing sports or doing, trying to inject jokes or witty lines or all of that kind of stuff. It doesn't play in something like that. And it's the easiest way to fail is to try to
Somebody
be.
tell Ari Melber that because he relates everything to hip hop. He simply cannot stop. He can't help himself.
Well, I don't watch. I mean, I could probably count on one hand the times I've watched them. So it's not been impressive to me, or he hasn't been impressive to me. When a shooting comes, I want the facts. Really, and to be honest with you, you there's no question you can ask in a shooting that hasn't been asked before, is there? I mean,
No.
we've done it so many times now. Are there any fresh perspectives on a shooting out there?
Sometimes just the simplest facts will help, like how many shots were fired when you reconstruct it in a matter of the whole thing happened in less than 5 minutes from the time that woman kicked open the door to the school, shot her way into it, killed the head of the school, shot a few students, and was killed herself. She shot off 150 rounds. And I wonder at this birthday party where 28 people were injured, not all of them shot, but probably there was a stampede that injured some. God knows what they were trying to do to get out of there. How many
Yeah.
shots were fired, I wonder, for so many people being injured?
Well, it was really interesting psychologically and refreshing. Now, again, maybe I fear this kind of stuff more than other people. Maybe I'm a little bit more sensitive to it than other people. I don't know. I don't know why I would be or how I could be, except for this whole premonition I've had my entire life that I'm going to get shot.
Really?
Um,
Really?
but when you walk into a place now, you here in the United States, you look for the exits. You look for the quickest way to how I can get out of here. What's the quickest way for me to get out of here? If I go run out the back, is there a way I can get out back there?
So you're
Or am
thinking
I
like Doc,
trapped if I go
you
there?
you're thinking like Doc Holliday at all times.
Well, I'm thinking like somebody who has to who may be confronted with having to leave quickly and grab a couple of people and take them with me. And how does that play out? You feel like what it must feel like to be in a war zone where you're
Yeah.
constantly aware of what your exit route is. You're not thinking about enjoying yourself. You're not even thinking about what you got to get from the market all the time. It's doing wonders for bringing back shopping lists, also for home delivery. But
Yeah.
when you walk into a place at at 1 o'clock in the morning or 12 o'clock at midnight or something like that, and you go into a place, you now have a reasonable expectation that something may go belly up, or you want to be prepared for it.
The new
And
modern
so you
funky
look
world is in there with you.
when you're in Canada, you don't have that feeling. Now, maybe the Canadians do. I didn't stop everybody and ask them, but there didn't seem to be that people looking around, people kind of, checking out exactly where they were, checking out the fire exits, checking out this. It seemed to be a bunch of people who seemed pretty happy out for a Sunday afternoon stroll with a reasonable expectation that they were going to be able to come home that night.
Do you think there were more Canadians on the street on a Sunday afternoon than there would have been in downtown Seattle on a
Yeah,
similar day?
yeah, especially at I went to Granville Market. I mean, I went around downtown Vancouver, drove around downtown Vancouver, and it was there were a lot of pedestrians, a lot of people on corners, a lot of people out walking around enjoying a semi-rainy day that actually wound up being a sunny day for a couple hours.
I
Lots of people at
forecast I
Stanley Park.
I forecast sun breaks, as you remember.
Yes, yes, and there were some sunbreaks. No, I thought the vibe was different. Was you could sense it, you could feel it, that there was just not the same kind of fear, of rush that goes on in downtown Seattle
Was there
or
a talk show
even Pike
host?
Place Market.
Yeah. Was there a talk show host in Vancouver bemoaning the fact that more Canadians don't have guns?
I did not listen to talk radio in Vancouver. I just turned the radio off and
Yeah.
just enjoyed the scenery. Enjoyed, I hadn't been up to Vancouver in a lot of years. I mean, I'd been over to White Rock and to um, was it Crescent Beach and a few other little towns that are before you get up there,
Yeah.
but I hadn't been up to Vancouver, and it's an interesting city. It's a pleasant city. It just seems like there just doesn't seem to be. Now again, they're having their problems downtown with homeless people. They're clearing trying to clear out the homeless as much as the police down here in Seattle are. They have a huge homeless problem there, and they are less prone to, I don't know, treat the homeless with kid gloves as we do here in Seattle. They're much more in that feeling of you don't have a home to go to, but you can't stay here. You got to go somewhere. You got to keep moving. We tourism is big business here,
Right.
and we have to, you got to get out of here. You got to go somewhere else, which forces people into the neighborhoods.
Oh,
And I don't know that that's a solution either.
no.
Because then you have what's going on in San Francisco, where people are, crapping on people's lawns and on their porches, and all of the insane stuff that you see is going on now in the neighborhoods. And I don't know how politicized it is up there. I didn't take the time to really delve into it. I see some of it because we get Canadian television here. I see some of it on their newscasts, but there just doesn't seem to be the fear factor that is now part of our daily American life.
They're happier and safer, and they know it.
Well, there's just there's just a feeling like here you think, do I if somebody cuts me off, can I say anything? Because chances are they've got a gun, or they're going to go crazy. You don't. I don't know. I didn't feel like that up there, and the few people that I talked to up there, I don't sense felt like that either. I think they felt like they could go about their business uh, without fear.
Can you remember a mass shooting in Vancouver or Canada recently?
Yeah, I think there was one in Toronto not too long ago. But
It
you really you'd have to delve into it. I mean, the populace doesn't have guns. And if
I
they
wonder
do,
I wonder
they're
how the Canadians feel about Americans in their heart. They must fear us in some way because we present such a ready, uncontrolled, unbridled set of dangers and troubles. Wherever we go, there we are. The Americans show up and there's going to be trouble. First, they're going to be drinking. There you go. Now we got a problem.
well, I mean, let's face it, they do that here as well. I mean, they come down to
To have some Molsons,
America,
to overpay for a Molson.
yeah, and they come down here and drink it up too. So I think that type of thing, the drunk and the drinking and stuff and disorderly. I mean, I think that goes on either way. But it's let's see. There was one here. This is there was a mass shooting that left 22 dead in Nova Scotia.
Wow.
And this was in April 2020. This was a guy, Gabriel Wortman, disguised in a police uniform, driving a fake police car,
Oh dear.
shot and killed 22 people in a 13-hour attack. And started in Portapique, Nova Scotia. April 19th and 18th and 19th, 2020.
What an unlikely story. But he had to dress
Yeah.
up. He had to take on another persona before he could do it. He couldn't do it as a Canadian.
Yeah, the fact that just the fact that he had to, that you have to go back to 2020 when we've had, I think we're pushing on 160 or 170 mass shootings here in the United States since the beginning of the year.
We have the guns to do it. If we just had the organization, we could pull this off in a much more orderly fashion. You know where the shooting was going to be. You know how many would be killed. It would save a lot of time and a lot of reaction and getting the story wrong. This way we would know what we're talking about. Where are we, Vinnie? Well, we're shooting 14 and we're waiting for 15 to begin in Cucamonga, which is scheduled, which by lottery drawing is the next city. And the minimum in Cucamonga shooting is 6. So we're hoping to set a better record than last time, where we didn't make our minimum in Reno. If you recall, Vinnie, we had the shooting there. We forecast 8 to be killed, and there was only 3 shot. And
listen, Michael, there's one answer here, and nobody has the nerve to want to do it. And that is,
I know. The guns don't. It's not the guns, right?
Yeah,
it's not the guns.
I mean, it's not the guns. When have you ever seen a gun by itself shoot somebody? Oh, this weekend, I guess the police were complaining there's a certain type of gun that is shooting itself off.
Hey, how can we get one of that's the AR-17? Oh, what a gun!
That's the new model. That's the AI. The AI-17.
Oh, you devil!
If it doesn't like your answers, it just takes you out.
There is a quiz before you can buy it, and the AI-17 has to like what you're saying.
All of a sudden, you're lying there in bed, and your AI-17 is propped up in your corner, and out of the corner of your eye, you see it leveling.
As it comes over and says, breakfast is late. This is not good for you. This is not good. You have
Put
time
your
to
hands
save
up
yourself.
and walk downstairs. They've programmed everything in from Charles what was Whitman was the guy in Texas in '65 in the tower. They programmed everything, and they got Charles Whitman, they got Son of Sam, they got every mass murderer you could think of.
Charlton
is programmed into this AI-15.
Sometimes comedians will argue when they're putting together a joke about which number is funnier. So which number is funnier, the AI-16 or the AI-17?
What year is it?
It's 2023 to the best of my knowledge.
So what do we go with AI-23? I mean,
AI-23. But is that funnier than okay, yes, it is.
Well, I don't know. I think that's but I could see what you're saying where they're working out a joke. Like the first show they'll call it an AI-15. The second show they'll call it an AI-23. And they'll see which one gets the bigger laugh. And if none of them get the laugh, they'll sell the joke to some young comedian who's just starting.
Let him research what number's funnier.
Yeah. And does a certain number play in Alabama much differently than it plays in South Carolina?
Isn't it funny how 16 is a laugh line in Alabama, but in, let's say, Georgia or Florida, 17 is funnier?
The sad thing is there's nothing funny about it. I mean, we're now fearing sending our children to a birthday party.
I was telling Kristen last night, like we experienced in the pandemic, there will be no more parties. People will not have people coming to their house that they don't know. People will not be opening the door to an AI 16 and the idiot that brought it and the one who's taking umbrage. What was it at the birthday party that was so awful that 28 people had to be injured and 4 had to be killed? What was that all about? Was it the way they sang happy birthday too slow? Happy birthday. That'll get people off.
You don't know what's going to tick people off these days. I mean, just in road rage, which is another thing I didn't see in Vancouver. You don't see people. Everybody just kind of flows. There's no,
Coexist.
There was one guy in an Acura that kind of cut in front of a couple of people, and that was it. Everybody else was and nobody honked a horn at him. Nobody went nuts. Nobody got out of the car and started brandishing a baseball bat.
They probably just said Americans.
Yeah, except the guy I think had BC plates on his
Can't be
car.
okay.
But be
Baja
that
California.
as it may, I mean, people were friendly. They talk to you. They're like, "Hi, how you doing? Oh, hi." When you walk through the market, people are smiling, and happy. There's just a sense that we don't seem. America seems to be so unhappy.
Yeah. Kristen, shower time. You're absolutely right. And the idea of our unhappiness comes from what? Because we're like the kid with too many toys, so many toys that we're unhappy with everything that we have.
Well, and we're in fear. I mean, how are you happy? How can you be happy if you live in fear?
And what are we afraid of? Well, the list is so long, it's just easier to say everything. And now there's new things to be afraid of. What if you're a parent sending your 13 or 14-year-old to go to a birthday party? What's the first thing that goes through your mind? I'm an idiot for letting my child out of the house. I'm the idiot.
Yeah, in a small town where, what is it, a city of 2,000-3,000 people, where you don't expect that kind of thing is going to happen.
I bet they had a gun store. I bet they had a gun store. The shooter didn't have to go far to get his gun legally. In fact, they always point that out as if it's some sort of a endorsement. Oh, legal gun. This gun was provided legally by the state of Alabama. If you want one, you can buy one today. But make sure, please, ladies and gentlemen, that you buy a legal gun before you conduct your mass shooting.
Like that endorses a correctness about it.
It does. Indeed, it does. You didn't break the law. You didn't break the law until he walked in that room. And he bought a perfectly good gun with him. That gun is not responsible. He chose to use it in that fashion.
Well, what's the thing I saw? What was it? One of the guns that was used in one of these crimes. Maybe it was the gun. Maybe it was Michigan, but the state, and I think it is Michigan, has a law that says that if you have a gun and it's taken from you by the authorities, that gun is not to be destroyed, but is to be resold at auction.
That is the shooting in from last week. You're absolutely right. That gun goes back on the street.
Yeah, I mean, do we hold guns more precious than religious articles? I mean, the only thing that I thought you couldn't destroy was the flag and rosary beads. Everything else.
Everything else mutates a bit, but there is value to that gun, and it's more valuable as a gun that's already been used in that fashion than a brand spanking new one that's never killed anybody. What good is a gun like that?
When I heard that, I could, because I was under the idea that when the police confiscate a gun, It's like New York. They take the guns, they put them in a blast furnace, and they melt them down. No, nobody goes to a police auction and buys a gun.
A gun that's already been used in a serious crime.
Yeah, a gun has been used to kill somebody. So if people don't kill, you know, if guns don't kill people, people kill people. How do you justify keeping that gun around? How do you just how do you at the end of the day say it's a good idea to resell this gun because the city could use the 2250 we got for it?
I bid $25, but they said I was late.
Yeah, the city or the municipality or the state government or whoever was in control of it got $22.50 for that gun, and that makes it okay. Well, we defrayed the cost of the court proceedings.
There's a series on History Channel about ghosts and paranormal activity. One of the things you don't want to do is take home an antique that's already been sold a bunch of times. People keep getting rid of it because there's some negative energy attached to that lamp. You
Bad
don't want it.
juju.
You do not want it in your house, and you'll find that out after you put it in your house. Well, the same with a gun like that. You bring it in and you just store it in the closet, and things start to change around you. The evil that gun has done is attached to it. And do you want that? You want that in your home? You want your child to be using it? You want to pretend you're taking it hunting so you can cut deer in half?
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't understand why in the whole scheme of things that we aren't destroying those guns. That we are, that this gun served its purpose. It killed somebody.
Yeah,
It it
retire it.
it, it did what it was supposed to do.
No more of that.
So let's retire it and send it out to pasture. Let's remove the firing pin. Let's take out the whatever we need to take out. Let's drop the trigger mechanism and make the make it a piece of a ball of metal,
Make it an
crushed
ash.
metal.
Have people in prison making ashtrays, or you could buy a license plate made from a gun that was used to kill people. That's it. You can spend extra.
If you got to have something to kill somebody in your possession, if you got to have, I mean, whatever. I just, it's beyond me. I mean, I guess by that reasoning, someday we ought to be able to buy the rifle that Oswald used to kill Kennedy, right?
Auction it off with the money going to the Texas Book Depository Fund.
I'm surprised that Hertz took the sign down from the top of the Texas Book Depository. Remember that the big Hertz sign that used to be on top of it?
Not quite the marketing aspect of their rollout that they had planned.
I don't know. It's a company that has O.J. Simpson as their, that had O.J. for a long time as a
Remember
Hertz spokesman.
his coat over his arm, his bag in his hand, hurtling over the stanchions to get to the plane on time, because Hertz got him no waiting. If you're OJ, there's no waiting. You just jump in the car. The gun is provided for you.
It's right there in the glove compartment.
If you want a knife, just say you want a knife. Just say, come on, say.
Yeah, you don't have to have a gun. You can have a knife. You can. If you're OJ, you're probably just as proficient with that.
And when OJ did the thing for Hertz, did he ever rent a white like minivan and drive around in it, or was that something that came later?
Well, I think the Bronco was actually given to him. See if I remember this right. The Bronco was either given to him by Hertz or by Nicole's father, who was a Hertz franchisee.
No.
Yeah.
I'd never heard that.
Yeah, I think that's how they met. Is that OJ was shooting Hertz commercials, and she was there. Her father was a Hertz franchisee, and they met. And I think that that's how OJ wound up with the white Broncos. That he got
Yeah.
it from her father.
My favorite line of that day was, "You know who this is." Hello, who is this? You know who this is.
Uh, that was now who said that? I don't remember that.
Al Collins.
Al. Oh yeah, yeah, Al Collins. You know, if he'd have hit a bump, he'd have saved the country a whole lot of trouble.
Well, he still believes OJ's innocent. He was convinced all along that
There are a lot of people that do, Michael. Uh, Less probably now than ever, but there's still a core of people out there that believe that he was railroaded.
Well, the trains were running slightly late that year because he got off. He got off remarkably well. But I wonder if Sean Kemp's going to. He seems to be an increasing problem.
What happened now with Sean?
That event down in Tacoma where he had a gun and was following somebody who was stolen his cell phone, and somebody else was involved. Now he's being charged with intent to use force, and it could not be too good for Sean.
Well, it's
He had a gun and he said he was
interesting
going to use it.
circumstance because he goes and somebody says, "Well, your car is here. They stole your car. Here's your car. It's here. These guys are driving it." I guess at some point, listen, my car. There's no car I've ever had that's worth shooting somebody over or brandishing a gun about. I mean, I have chased my cars when they've been stolen at 100 miles an hour. Which, given the same circumstance today, I probably wouldn't. But I was young and full of piss and vinegar. And anybody will tell you that's drank piss and vinegar, it makes you sick.
Especially if you're like 15 or 16. It's quite a combination, as I understand
Yeah,
it.
it's not good. I mean, it's just not gonna make you feel good. So I could see where Sean would be upset about things and about getting his car taken from him. And wait a minute, I'm Sean Kemp. You can't do that to me. But that's what the cops are there for, right?
Well, I would think that Sean being Sean, if he had asked the police for help, they probably would have been more than happy to help him out getting his car and his phone and putting things straight without having to take care of it in the streets of Tacoma.
Yeah, I think that that's a reasonable assumption that here you are, you're Sean Kemp, you're somebody of note. When you start to talk to the cops, they're gonna help you out more than likely, probably more than they're gonna help the average person out. I mean, I could see if somebody goes up to the police down in Tacoma and says, "Can you help me?" They're going to go, "Yeah, well, if we're not busy, we will. We got a million other things we're doing." But if you're Sean Kemp, maybe they're going to say, "Well, for a couple of autographs, and we'll get right on it for you, Mr. Kemp."
I believe that would have been the case. I'm just guessing, but Sean's not used to seeing things taken care of that way. He's a big man who takes care of things himself. Anyway, he's in some hot water, and I don't know what he's facing in terms of legal problems, but he's got some.
Yeah, it's because I thought that whole episode, I guess, was over, so it must have been.
It was this weekend that they rethought it
Yeah,
and charged him.
yeah, first degree assault in that March shooting. Everybody was, a lot of people were saying, well, he's justified or was justified. It's a drive-by shooting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Well, if he wanted to get himself back in the headlines, for something other than his pot store.
I want when I visit you, I want to go to his store, buy a T-shirt or something. Sativa, not the other one.
Yeah, I got to. Yeah, boy, it's just yeah. This is the kind of thing where you just when you got the kind of money that Sean Kemp has, and I'm thinking that he's doing okay. He's got 2 pot stores, uh, and
What are they called? Does he have a fancy name? Sean
yeah,
Kemp's Pot
Sean
Store?
Kemp's pot store.
That's it. That's it. Always make sure that your title says what you're doing.
Yeah, I think it's. Yeah, I think it's. I think the one down on what is it, First Avenue or whatever it is down there is Sean Kemp's. Yeah, I think it's Sean Kemp's Pot Emporium or something like that.
Cannabis Heaven.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to put this in because it angered me that Frank Ocean, who was the headliner at Coachella this weekend, put on a show that was so awful that people have remarked on it. Here's the headliner on the headliner stage. He sits in a circle with people walking around him so that no one in the audience can see the band or the singer. A group of people walk in a circle around him. Then instead of doing songs, he does pieces that have been pre-recorded. And the folks that can't see him because the crowd around him can't see him on the video screens either, because he's blacked out the regular video screens and used his own video screens, which don't show him. The LA Times called the show loose, messy, and a near disaster. And it went on for 30 minutes like that. Finally, they got him off. And without entertaining, without singing, without doing anything of worth, without doing anything but taking the money of the interesting people who wanted to see this guy headline, that has become increasingly non-entertainment. People who can't sing loudly. People who can't play the harpsichord poorly. People who won't entertain are now considered headliners, who take your time and your money and your effort and throw it in your face as non-entertainment, as a description of awfulness on stage, something that Shakespeare never thought of. And he thought of a lot of things, but he didn't think of, why don't we not put on a play, but just say we're going to put on a play. And then when you get there, it looks like a play because it's in a theater, but we're not going to do a play. It's going to be so much
give
fun.
Him the money, right? I mean, it's not that he goes to their house and takes it out of their top drawer and leaves 2 tickets there and says, okay, come to my show.
No, they wanted to go. And I don't know that I don't know how they feel this morning, but I would be outraged.
I mean, it isn't done often, but I would say I want my money back. This, especially if he's recorded one thing and then done something else when you got there.
Well, he hadn't performed in 3 or 4 years. Last time he was scheduled to perform was before and he had all that time to rehearse, and it never occurred to him.
Well,
he could have had the best show possible.
This is a clear excuse for blaming it on the pandemic. I don't know. I had COVID. It was COVID, man. It rotted my mind.
You know who's got COVID this morning, don't you? Bruce Springsteen.
No. Does he have it?
Yeah. He missed his award show.
Well, it's going. I mean, I'm surprised he hasn't had it already. Many members of his band had it.
Wow.
There was
traveling by plane.
They had to cancel. They canceled a couple of shows last month.
If you want to catch it, get on an airplane.
I think Nils had it, and little mini Clarence had it, and boy, I think Steven might have had it too. So I think there was at least 3 of them that had it.
Anytime you share airplanes and the microphone, you got yourself a chance.
Yeah, what here's what people don't understand. We're not out of COVID. COVID didn't just take off and say, "Okay, we're done. We're moving. We're going to another planet."
We're
COVID
done.
is still around. It's that there are enough people vaccinated now that COVID isn't as serious as it was. If you've been vaccinated, you could have COVID and you don't even know it.
Yep, that's
Where
true.
before, when you got it, it left a loud calling card.
You were sick.
You were sick. You were in a fetal position in your bed. If you were lucky, and if you weren't lucky, you were in a hospital. Um, surrounded by oxygen masks and respirators and all sorts of items that you never want to see. And but this falsity that we're over this thing um, is just that. It's a falsity. And of course, now that you have the Republicans saying, well, we want this, and the Democrats too, it's not just Republicans, saying that, well, there's no more COVID emergency. There's no more, you don't have to social distance anymore. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. Well, I don't know, Michael.
I think you do. I think in certain situations you have to be very careful, and especially on airplanes, because
Yeah.
the chance of breathing the air of 150 people changes the odds dramatically.
Yeah, I carry my mask with me. If I'm going to go into a Trader Joe's or something like that, and it's you know closed store like that in a small space, a Trader Joe's is a relatively small space. It's not a bit big, Bohack or something like that. Big
Piggly
supermarket,
Wiggly.
Piggly Wiggly. I mean, it's a small store, and when you walk down those aisles, you're not 6 feet from anybody.
No.
And so if I go into TJ's, a lot of times I'll wear a mask. Even though I won't wear one, or not that I won't, I don't wear one usually normally as an everyday course of conducting business. But I in that kind of close situation when there's a lot of people, not a lot of ventilation,
That's the
what
recipe. That's the
why be
recipe right there.
stupid?
Yeah.
Um, so I think that again, I think we're hungry for this thing to be over, and it's not quite over yet.
Well, that's not that wanting it to be over is the nature of mankind. Having to face the fact that it's not over means that you have to understand what a virus is, and a virus is a very sturdy organization of matter. It doesn't go away. It mutates and gets stronger. It mutates and gets more infectious. It mutates and gets more dangerous. It mutates and gets more comfortable on this planet. It's going to be here for a long time, and it's happy. And as part of a family, if you remember the phrase coronavirus, which we first started calling it before we called it COVID-19, is to be just one of a whole family of COVID viruses that are all over the planet.
Right.
And when it mutates just a little bit, then it becomes more dangerous to man, and that's when we hear about it.
Well, I remember that it's coronavirus for one simple reason. There was a time back in 2020 when the largest concentration of coronavirus victims was in Corona.
Wow.
I mean, talk about your coincidences and incidents and accidents. The largest concentration of coronavirus victims in the United States was in the the neighborhood of Corona, New York.
The famous district.
The neighborhood of Corona, East Elmhurst, Corona, and I don't know how they worked that out to be like that, but it was, and nobody really capitalized on the information.
Well, if we were going to go to Corona today, what would you want to do there?
Oh, you go to the Lemon Ice King.
Now you're talking. See?
Yeah, you go to Benefremo, man. Lemon Ice King, hang out, have a lemon ice. Go to Flushing Meadow, Corona Park. Go to City Field. Watch
Hey,
the Mets beat somebody. There's
Giants went to Detroit this weekend, and there's a very Detroit thing happened, a rainout.
yes, I saw postponed on the or delay at one time yesterday when I looked. Um, there was, but didn't they win two of those games?
Yeah. If they hit home runs, they win. And they've been hitting home runs. They just don't hit them every day. They get a little tired. They get verklempt. They lose 6-0. They come back the next day and they hit home runs and they win 10-3. I
Huh.
don't know who they are. I don't know who this team is yet.
They're a team that I think sounds like they're trying to find themselves. It sounds like
Yeah.
they have one component of the game down real well, hitting the long ball. I don't know how many of the other components they have down, but their pitching seems to be okay, right? That Joey Bart's back.
Again, not every day. They
Right.
really look fine on some days, and they look like a complete team and a dangerous team. And they hit home runs in groups and bunches. So let if they just keep their pitching, keep their powder dry. Don't get their dauber down. Get in there and show me that you can pitch and you can keep the other team from scoring. But none of this business of trying to win without scoring, because we've seen way too much of that.
Did you ever see a dauber down?
I've seen a person who looks as if their dauber is down.
What's a dauber look like?
Well, according to Roger Craig, the dauber was the stick that you hold when you're trying to find water.
Is that a dauber?
I believe that's the dauber.
Well, if your dauber is down, it means you're finding water, right?
That's if the dauber goes down. But if you get your dauber down, that's what you don't want to do. That's when you start the day without even your dauber being up. You got to get your dauber up and walk around, and then you'll find water. But if your dauber's down, well, water knows that, and it's not going to come calling. You'll be unsuccessful. You will find no water. Your dauber will be useless.
Well, now I'm looking at the dauber definition and meaning in Merriam-Webster.
Here we go.
And let's see it also in definitions from Oxford Languages. And in Oxford, they say a dauber is a noun, a crude or inartistic painter, or an implement used for daubing, which tells me absolutely freaking nothing.
Just as I say, it's a water finder.
Let's see. Merriam-Webster says a device or marker used for applying daubs of paint or color. A bingo dauber is a colored marker used for highlighting the numbers on a bingo card. So it's that
Oh yeah,
it's that thing of ink that has like the spongy
yes.
thing on the cap, and you turn it upside down, and you push it onto the number at the bingo game, and if you get the. But there's also something called a mud dauber.
That's a bird.
Uh,
They make
Paper
nests.
wasp. Let's see.
Oh no, you're right. It's a wasp that makes a nest out of mud.
Any of various wasps that construct mud cells in which the female places an egg with spiders or insects paralyzed by a sting to serve as food for the larvae.
You see what kind of world we're living in, Vinny? You getting the picture here? That's why I warn you: do not get your dauber down.
Guns don't kill people. Mud daubers
Oh yeah,
kill
they'll kill
spiders.
you.
I guess, yeah. I guess that's the thing. Is you go and if you're a wasp, you sting the spider and paralyze it with a little bit of poison, and then you just drag it over to your eggs.
Put it near the dauber.
and the eggs have a little something to eat when they're hatching. I don't know how that works, but it does,
Well,
evidently.
they grow to maturity. They come out of the little nest, and the first thing they see is a paralyzed spider. What would you do?
I guess it's dinner time.
I guess they can be they can be delicious if prepared accurately.
It's got to be an instinctual thing, though. That's not a learned behavior, is it?
No, no, that just happens. That's
Yeah,
Mother Nature at work right there.
yeah. At that age, you're just kind of going on. You're wiping the
Yep,
egg shells out of your eyes,
and thinking about the great day when you build your own mud dauber nest,
and when you
and you're
sting
gonna
your own spider,
yeah, yeah, and leave it for your babies.
and then or you're flying along and somebody goes,
Well, that happens.
well, see, I mean, a bug has that kind of thing going for it, especially a flying one, where they're going along and they land someplace thinking, oh, I got to take a rest. There you go.
There you go, indeed. The little ones
And
don't
it's and,
last.
and, and all of your dreams of daubing, all of your dreams of honey and stinging a spider and mating up so you can leave an egg somewhere and all of that kind of stuff.
All the mud you were going to make into a home.
All the mud that you were going to make into a home at the Mud Wasp Town. Be a great name for a band, the Mud
Mud wasp.
Wasps.
Mud wasps. Maybe Bruce can write something like that in his sick bed. He can give him a guitar and tell him we need a song called the Mud Wasps.
I'm just a mud wasp.
There you
A
go.
lonely, lonely mud wasp.
That's not a bad. That's almost doo-wop. Okay, Bruce, get to it.
A do wasp.
Well, you're sharp today, man. You
Yeah,
are all over
I
it
had
with
my cup of
World
coffee
Connection.
before, and
Okay.
I had a creme brulee yesterday.
And is it still working on you?
It's still working on me. I had a schnitzel and a
And
creme brulee. I was going for Normandy.
yeah, if he can get him up the beaches, we have a chance to take Europe.
Or at least stop at a schnitzel stand somewhere in. Thank God that the Americans helped everybody invade and get Europe back there because I couldn't imagine a collision between French and German cuisine.
They would have just put a lot more cream on the potatoes. The schnitzel, what can you do with schnitzel?
Well, you could put sauerkraut on it, but I don't think the French even admit that there's anything. I mean, the French are all about putting a cream sauce on everything, right?
Everything. And the answer to any problem you might be having in the kitchen is more cream.
Yeah, just put some more cream in the frying pan, and it'll work out. But we have rutabagas in there. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about that. Do you think a rutabaga is going to taste better with more cream? Yes. So let's
I
go.
think anything tastes better with the right amount of cream and sugar in it.
Now, you see, that's something a German fresh chef would not think of. He would think more pepper, more heat, more schnitzel. The
Yeah,
cream.
bread it.
Yeah,
Put some breading on it.
bread it. Let's go.
Take it, put some breading on it, put a little hot mustard on it, put a little sauerkraut, and put it in a bun, and
What
it's ready
about
to fly.
if I order a side? What can I get? You can get potatoes. What are you
Or
crazy?
you
Get a
get schnitzel
potato.
with spätzle.
Schnitzel with spätzle. I love that stuff.
I'm just saying, Mikey. I mean, again, you have the Irish, with the corned beef and cabbage, and the Germans got their schnitzel and the spätzle.
And the reason you have a liter of beer is because chewing schnitzel does not always get it down. You need to help it down, and the beer will get it down to where into the digestive chamber.
There's a certain texture to German food. Some German food, not all, but there's a certain texture to some German food that will make you understand why they went to war.
They were they were
You know,
hungry and they were angry.
they were mad. Their teeth hurt because they were chewing this stuff all the time, and They want it. Matter of fact, you can keep the rest of France. Just send us all the chefs. And to French people, those are fighting words.
And you notice that the two countries known best for their cuisine actually share a border. France and Italy, there's a wonderful mixture there. If you're in any of those two nations, you know that you're okay for lunch. It's going to be okay.
Yeah,
It's
lunch
gonna,
is going to be all right. Yeah, you're going to be okay for lunch, for dinner, even for breakfast. I mean,
oh
depending
yeah,
on where you are in France, breakfast takes on different proportions. But in Italy, it's um, it's pretty defined what breakfast is. You get a flaky croissant or sfogliatelle, and a cup of espresso.
you're ready to go.
It's time to go to work. Don't need a lot because we're going to have lunch.
We're
And
gonna
lunch
have
in
we're
Italy
gonna have
is
we're
a
gonna have lunch
2 hour
at
affair.
gonna have a little something at 11, then the real lunch at 2, tea at 4, dinner at 8, and then snacks at 10.
And then we're going to go to bed. And then we're going to get up and do it all over again, as Jackson Brown said.
And when you get up, you're not going to be as hungry as you might have been if you had done that whole thing in Germany. Germany, you're going to need a good breakfast to get going. But in Italy, we've taken care of that with a 10 o'clock snack at night.
Yeah, see that the Italians had it. They have it. They have a system.
They're a meal ahead of us.
Yeah,
We're a meal behind.
they're
They're a meal ahead.
yep. Just like you got the Greenwich Mean Time.
Yeah.
They have the Italian meat time, and you could just grab a little something at any time of the day or night. I wonder if they have like 24 hours sette once.
I don't know. I know that there are a lot of Italian women in the kitchen doing their best to keep the men happy.
Yes. Well, I think the kitchen is not the place where Italian women are expected. I'm just saying, I know how that works.
Well,
Uh,
there's fabulous things going on regardless.
yeah, yeah. Whether you can cook or not, I mean, I think that's the place where what is it, door jam? No, door DoorDash.
DoorDash.
I knew it was something like that. Door jam, doorstep, door whatever. I think
You're
that's might
late.
have been
You're
when it
late.
got
What is it?
started. Honey, I
Oh, is
don't want to
that
get out of bed. All
you're
right, we'll
supposed to
just
use
call DoorDam and have them bring the food up.
They're late. Yeah, I bumped my big toe on the door jam. I thought I said DoorDash. Oh, well, we're the door jam people. I hurt my foot.
I got my finger caught in the door jam. Took me a half hour for AAA to come down and get it
I was,
out.
I was trying to think of the name of the New York lock where you lock your door, then you put the metal bar in the
Fox
door and
lock,
a box lock. There you go.
Fox lock, Fox police lock.
That's
They
a real
call it.
lock. No, that's a lock.
Oh yeah, it's not just a lock. You're barring the door, Katie.
Yeah.
Uh, that's the definition of barring the door. In essence, you're putting for those who may not know, it's a type of lock where there's a metal bar that slides into a device on the lock. And so when you close the door, the metal bar slides down, locks into place in the lock, and then you can't open the door. And these are usually applied to metal doors that can't be broken like a wood door or a door with glass in the middle of it. So the door becomes immobile. You
In
can't
fact,
move the damn thing.
once you put that long pole in the floor,
Right. But
forget
there's
about it.
a key that goes into that lock, and you turn it, and it releases the bar that goes into the lock, slides it up, and you can open the door and get into the apartment. It's a lot of work, but it's probably one of the more secure locks that you will ever see because it's virtually impossible to open that door.
And nobody in New York ever says, geez, what a inconvenience this lock is. I feel so out of sorts having to deal with this lock. They love
No,
those
you're
locks.
talking to a city where there's 5 locks on every door. I mean, you got to if you're going in through the door, you got to work to get it. You're going to have to get through 5 different locks, and then probably something else that the owner of the apartment has put there, like a chair up against the door, the fox lock, whatever it is. There's, a myriad of different devices. And then probably these days, there'll be a video doorbell that will record you looking ridiculous trying to get into these 5 locks and the fox lock and whatever else is going on.
Then your last line of defense is your AI 17 or 16,
Your
depending on
AI
which you're trying.
17, which you're lying in bed and see, has just leveled itself. Well, and the thinking behind that is not so much that it's going to prevent somebody from getting into your apartment, because I think it's a well accepted thing in New York that if somebody wants to get you, they're going to get you. But the thing is to make it unappealing
Yeah.
for somebody to want to rob you. So I have to spend so much time working on this door and making so much noise that I'll just move on to the next person who foolishly has just one lock, and you can get into that lock with a credit card.
And that person has been watching you work on his neighbor's door through his little spyglass and didn't call the cops yet. So now he's paying for that.
Yeah, but and I think that's what the cops will always tell you, is that you can't prevent it, but you can make it as hard as possible for somebody to get into your apartment. And chances are, especially if they're drug people, that they're just going to move on to the next one. I mean, if somebody's looking for something and they think, oh, I got this or I got that or this in my apartment, they're not going to really mess with you past one lock. But, if you got the Hope Diamond stored in your top drawer, then you're in trouble. Then they're going to get you no matter what.
But do you have the diamond in there? Well, I hope I do.
I'm going to hope against hope. I have the Bob Hope Diamond. Which,
that's very sad.
Which is, from what Dolores has said, not a big diamond.
I've got the Yoko Ono opal.
Oh, Yoko. Where are you, Yoko? We haven't heard much from Yoko today. What do you have to say, Yoko?
Turn her up a little. Well, I can hear her. She's almost past the first lock.
It's great. I got that. I don't know if this will show you here, but
can't see.
Yeah, it won't show you. I've got the closed captioning on.
Oh. How is that being translated, please? Good. That's accurate. I know that song.
It's worth it for you to go to this Yoko Ono Screaming at Art show on YouTube and turn on the closed captioning and watch it. It's almost as funny as actually watching Yoko.
And it's better for your sinuses than Sudafed. So if you're coming down with a little cold, try this. It'll dry you right up.
She will open you right up, man. I mean, she's got, you can see where, a crowd is gathered now, and you can see that this is in summer because people, and it's before the pandemic, because people are gathered around, standing close to each other. And it's like your typical group in New York is in this photo. There's one guy, in shorts and a white kind of golf shirt, and he's taking pictures. And there's a group, I think I talked about this on Friday, of young people kind of in the back who obviously look like they work at the museum. And there's one guy who is just trying so hard not to burst out in laughter. And is trying to look like this is, this is art. But much like that guy who sat in the middle of the stage at Coachella,
Frank,
this is bull crap. This isn't art.
Well, someone has to call it, is what I'm saying. If your show at Coachella is so awful that the LA Times and Variety review it and call it a disaster, what was it that made you go to Coachella and take 30 people with you? And instead of boy dancers who do the gyrations on the stage, they walk in a circle around you. Where did you come up with that great idea? To bring all that video equipment with you and extra custom screens to show nothing, to not do songs, to have
I think
long
it's
breaks between. What was it that made this person think that that was worthy of of what we call entertainment?
probably the same thing that Jerry Garcia was thinking the first time they rolled out the Grateful Dead. You know, like this is different and it's avant garde. And it's like nothing you've ever heard before, which is true. You know, and it,
Can't deny it. That's true.
yeah, and you know, again, my question is, who buys tickets for it? Why does anybody stay there to listen to it that didn't actually either give birth or donate sperm to somebody up on stage? And you know what? Why? I mean, something for them to book somebody onto a stage at Coachella, I would have to think that there's some kind of interest in this person. There's somebody somewhere who thinks that this guy is something.
Well, I think what if I was a promoter in Cincinnati right now, putting together the booking for the summer, and the guy said, Frank Ocean, what do you think? He played Coachella. Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
No, no.
Yeah, I mean, and you
Take
got to
your act
think
down the
that
road.
you know, but Mikey, you know, and I know. I mean, we all know there's a subset of people in the music business, on the art scene, that want to look at Frankie Ocean and say, he's new, he pops, he's vibrant, he's different, he's unique.
It's so
And you know, and
awful.
they'll sell you, you know, every record rep that represents his company will come into your studio and hand you a record, um, and say this is different than anything you've ever heard before. I'm sure Yoko Ono has somebody who'll walk into a radio station and hand you a record and say this is different than anything you've ever heard before. And once you hear it, you will agree with them. It's
You might.
certainly different than anything I've ever heard before. I mean, it sounds like somebody's going through uh, uh, torture.
She's helping your pain as best as she can. By the way, one thing that Coachella did, which is really going to burn him in the future, is for Frankie Ocean and for one other act. They pulled the live feed that was going to YouTube of the whole show, just unexplained, with no apology, with no sorry, but contractual agreements have been made. We can't show this video. They just cut the feed. And they would not respond to Variety when they asked for a comment on why they did that. Two things you don't want to do: get a bad name in the show business. Why'd you do that? I'm not talking to Variety. Who reads your rag anyway? Oh, you might be surprised.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, Bill Graham did stuff like that, and he seemed to survive it pretty well until, you know, one day.
He inexplicably cut feeds that were previously
Well, I don't
agreed
think they
to.
had feeds, but he laid down the rules of how you were going to cover the different shows and bands that, you know, that he was promoting.
You remember the Cal? It was called Cal Rock. It was out in the desert. The great story
Like,
about that was the Kinks were on the bill, and they didn't want to go on. They wanted to wait. Bill Graham said, "You're going on now." They said, "Nah, not so much." So he got a backloader and picked up the brand new Mercedes of the Kinks manager and had it 30 feet in the air. He said, 30 seconds, 30 seconds. And I don't mean I'm taking it down in 30 seconds. I mean the band will be on stage in 30 seconds, or your Mercedes is going to be a heap. And I'll be damned. The Kinks played just like they were going to, just like they wanted to, just like they always promised they would.
amazing how
So,
that happens.
so I know Bill Graham probably loved the Kinks, but one thing he didn't like was being taken advantage of, because he always had one up his sleeve. Oh, I see. They're not going on. Well, hold on. Give me a minute.
Well, you know, Mikey, Frank, I'm looking at Frank Ocean, and everybody says that he disappointed. NPR says it was a mixed bag. Uh,
I hope I never open up a mixed bag like that at home.
yeah, Vulture says, did Frank Ocean want to be at Coachella?
I don't think so.
And there's, it's interesting to show on one picture with Frank Ocean here that he's standing with I don't know what you would call this thing. It's if you ever go to a car show, they have those. It looks like it's a doll baby, but bigger than your like Barbie doll. It's like probably, I don't know, 2 feet or something like that, and it looks like an alien, and it's green, and Frank is wearing green hair to match it.
Well, maybe his show plays better on other planets. That's a possibility.
He let's see. Yeah, he says it was a long-awaited, long-awaited performance.
It's always a recipe for disaster.
He would have gotten like people will no longer wait for him.
Would it have been long awaited if Bill Graham had picked up his manager's Mercedes? I don't know. I bet it would have happened sooner.
Well, it's interesting because as I read this thing about him, and I didn't read this. I hadn't seen this anywhere. I guess he used to go to Coachella with his brother, and his brother died in a car accident. He used to go to Coachella together. He mentioned at the top of his set, his brother, he came to this festival a lot.
Well, that's sad, but
I guess he's a very private guy. It says, I don't know the guy.
Memory?
I wouldn't know him if he, came up to me and started singing to me. I wouldn't know who Frank Ocean is. But he cut his set early, did 14 songs. They say he cut the set due to the festival's Sunday night curfew. And this guy says everybody around him, and I'm talking about the writer here for Vulture, says people were disappointed.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say.
Let's see. I want to thank you for the support and the ears and the love over all this time. He said, not that there's not a new album, but there's not right now.
Wow. He should get into politics if he can put on that bad of a show, still have a career, and make comments of that variety.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I got no idea who half the people at Coachella are. So I don't know.
Well, this trend of you don't have to rehearse, you just get up on stage and do whatever. I hope that does not resonate within the entertainment industry. But if it does, there's always going to be somebody who wants to put on a real show.
Well, as you pointed out before, Michael, look at half the people who do Saturday Night Live now. Some of them are really good. Many of them
are beastly.
It's like Saturday night. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's just not. I don't know. I mean, I understand hip hop and understand its place in society and so on and so forth, but I don't know, grabbing your schwanz and standing up there hooting and hollering into a microphone for 20 minutes is not my idea of a great performance. Maybe it is for some people.
Why would it be the situation that we face in America where all hip hop lead men who are on the front of the stage have to grab their schwanz? It's not one guy. It's not two guys. It's every guy.
And you know what? It's not a racial thing either, because I've seen white rappers that go up there that do the same exact thing. It's like a hip hop thing. It's like
what are they saying?
You got to grab your schwanz. And I don't understand it. I don't understand it if a black guy does it, if a white guy does it, if a Chinese, an Asian guy. I just don't understand it.
I think it's time for a song called "I Grab My Schwanz" that explains the whole thing in three verses and 2 choruses.
My mother always told me, "Don't grab your junk while you're on stage." I mean, you know.
Why do you think it's necessary for American entertainers to be told this? Instead, what they're learning is when you get on stage, that's when you grab your schwanz. Instead of being told, "That's a private thing. Don't do that on stage."
Well,
It's
yeah, I mean, I
it
couldn't
makes
imagine
people uncomfortable.
Jerry Butler going out there and grabbing his schwanz when he was singing,
But
"He don't
what about
love you," you know?
what about Wayne Newton? Can you see him grabbing his schwanz? No.
I could see him struggling to find it, but once he did, no, Wayne Newton or Tom Jones or, you know,
How about
any of these entertainers.
what about coordinated schwanz grabbing, like the new Temptations? You know, they spin, they dance, they grab their schwanz, all of
Lou
them together.
Rawls. Maybe I could see Monty Rock the third.
No, you got a point there. If
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, he did a lot of stuff on Merv Griffin. I never saw him grab his.
no,
I
he
just,
didn't.
I don't know when that became acceptable.
It's mandatory. That's just it. It's way beyond acceptable. It's like you're in the second verse. You haven't grabbed your schwanz. What are you thinking? Do we have to choreograph this? Yeah,
Yeah,
remind
well,
me when I get to the part about I want to sit on the park bench. I grab my schwanz.
and when I see female rappers, they don't grab.
Do they fondle?
I mean, I don't see. No, I don't. I mean, I mean, I don't. Maybe I'm just not paying enough attention, but I don't see female rappers, hip hop stars, um, grabbing that area.
Maybe comedians should start doing that during their show as they're telling the joke. Grab the schwanz now and then. How about baseball players? They have time at the plate, but
Well,
they got
now there's a place where your schwanz gets grabbed.
and
I
you
mean,
better be
we've
quick
seen
about
the
it.
cup adjustment how many times?
Did you see that
That's an area where baseball players, yeah, I will concede that there's some schwanz grabbing going on there. Maybe that's where it comes from.
the grabbing of the schwanz? It's a historical certainty that if
I
you're
don't know,
performing, you
Michael.
gotta grab it.
I'm not a big fan of it. I got to tell you. I mean, I don't know what, you know. And again, I don't profess to be a hip hop expert, but I can't understand. I always think there's a reason you do something. Especially when you're on stage. You know, is there a shortage of crew X? I mean, is there? I mean, do you have? I mean, I know I'm an older guy. I get bindage sometimes.
Oh, yeah,
You gotta
readjust.
move around and readjust and everything. And I think that's what goes on with the athletes is they wear the jock strap with the cup. And although I know guys that didn't wear a cup out there and paid a heavy price for it.
The idea occurs to me that Canadians are not grabbing their schwanz at the same level that Americans are. You probably noticed that when you were there. Any schwanz grabbing on the street that you noticed?
I didn't look. I didn't notice. I know that. I once saw a player um, rupture his schwanz
Oh, dear.
and continue to play the game and score the winning run with a suicide squeeze.
Who was this madman?
Adrian Beltre
Wow, yeah.
had a ruptured his testicle
Ooh.
and stayed in the game playing third base.
You
He
know what
wasn't
drives me
wearing
crazy?
a cup, and he took a bad hop to his nuts, and it crushed one of his nuts. I think they had to take it off. Um,
Wow.
and he stayed in the game. And
Isn't it fascinating how pain affects some people more than others? He
The
had to be
game
in
went
pain.
to extra innings.
Oh God! Of course it did.
And Beltre, like I said, scored the winning. I mean, it was the bravest thing I think I'd ever seen in person on a baseball field. Certainly,
Did he score standing up or did he have to
I
slide?
think he
Oh,
slid.
oh!
I mean, again, it was truly one of the.
How's Adrian today? Is he still singing falsetto?
I think he's actually out on the road with Frankie Valli right now. I think he does. The notes that Frankie
Yeah, can no longer hit.
can no longer. Adrian Belte ruptured Schwanz. No, ruptured
Schwanz should get you there.
scrotum.
Testicle.
Thank you, testicle. Uh, yeah, 2009. He scored the.
Baseball is such a cruel game.
He scored the winning run in the 14th inning.
More
I
violent than
remember now. I was down there. It was, I think, against the White Sox, if I'm not mistaken. Uh,
the pale
and I
hose.
was down on the, I was doing a post game in those days, and I was like just right down in the well, waiting to go out. And I went down there, and usually I would go out in the 8th inning. And the game went into extras. Like I said, I think it was. Here's your here's your Bleacher Report headline: Adrian Beltre's nuts are okay.
Oh, okay.
Despite grapefruit-sized testicle, Adrian Beltre still does not wear a cup.
Cups are uncomfortable. I was a catcher for a while, and I wore them
Yeah,
for a
I
while.
did too, and I got hit in the nuts without a cup. And I'll tell you what, is the last time I didn't wear a cup.
I got hit there while wearing a cup, and it's just as bad because it drives the cup into you.
He went on the 15-day disabled list, and oh
That's
no, they didn't have to
optimistic.
take it off. When I looked down after the game, it wasn't a pretty sight. My testicle got the size of a grapefruit. Thank God it didn't really damage anything. It took me 2 weeks. It was a tear, a lot of blood inside, but it didn't damage anything. Everything is
No,
okay.
no, it sounds completely undamaged and normal.
Good God, man. I remember I thought that was, like I said, one of the bravest things I've ever seen on a baseball field. For you can take all of the running into walls that you want, and he took that hop. I think he took it in like the 8th inning or something like that. Yeah, I think it was like the 8th inning when he took it.
So he plays 6 or 7 innings with a major injury.
Yeah, so he played. Yeah. Uh, let's see. I'm just trying to see. Uh, he could feel pain when he dove back into third base after getting on in extra innings. He
Well, that's
also
something.
felt that when he applied the tag on Scott Podsednik during a 10th inning pickoff at third.
Oh
And
God.
he also scored the winning run. The guy's a gamer, said Don Wakamatsu, his manager at the time.
Well, I'd have to say it's an unusual set of events.
Yeah, it was definitely it was definitely something you didn't see. When they say that if you stick around baseball long enough, you'll see everything.
You'll see
This
something
was
that
one of
no
the
one is.
nights
Yeah.
where that rang is true. I mean, again, most people would have taken themselves out of a game after he got hit in the nuts. This guy not only stayed in the game, but again scored the winning run in the 14th inning.
Which means he got on base, which means he may have gotten a hit while in that condition.
Oh, I think he did get a hit. Yeah. I definitely think he got a hit. And I think he also, boy, I don't know. I just remember how I was just like, dude, and I mean, he was down for a while on the field when he got hit. He
I
went
bet he
down
was.
like a sack of flour, man. Just boom.
Oh, it's worse than a skunk smell.
Yeah, that was like I said, that was an amazing. He'll always have a place in my Heroes Hall of Fame, man. That was just something that like I said, you see it, you think you see everything in the world, but sometimes you see things that you just don't believe in. And a legend was born that day, Michael.
Who who's the legendary player that we're talking about? Adrian Beltre,
Adrian Beltre, yes.
or just his parts? Is that the legend?
Well, I think you got. I mean, if it was up to his parts, I'm sure that they probably would have left.
We would have felt better with a cold compress in a shower, but no.
Yeah, I mean, if it was just his parts, they would have left. Get me out of here. I'm going home early. But Adrian Beltre, the player, said,
Ain't going home.
I'm going to stay out there. I can help my team.
Yogi said it ain't over till it's over, and it ain't over.
And Beltre, if you remember, was the guy. Remember when he signed with the Dodgers, there was a whole thing about his age. Like I think they thought he was 14. He told them he was like 16 or 17,
Yes.
But it was like really 14 or something like that. There was some kind of subterfuge that went on there with the Dodgers.
Well, because as he played in minor league pre-professional leagues for showcasing his talent, he was supposed to be 12, but he was already 16 or something like that.
Yeah, there was something. There was something that wasn't exactly kosher when he was with the Dodgers. I have to go back and look at it, but I remember. Nice guy though. I mean, I always had good dealings with him. Down in spring training, and a matter of fact, if I remember right, he actually gave me an interview that night. I'd have to go back and look, but I remember like not wanting to go over to him, but I went over anyway. Because I think, I think if I'm not mistaken, I did do a post-game interview with him because he scored the winning run.
Wow. I bet he wished he had caught that ball.
Which one? The one that hit him in the nuts in like the sixth inning?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure of all the chances he handled in his career, and the guy had a long career, I would hazard a guess that that's the one that he wishes he would have. He says, I could think of other ones that went by me, and I never think about him again. This one, I'm sure that every time he whips it out in the urinal, he thinks about.
He thinks about that night.
I only had my glove up, another quarter of it in.
And the funny thing is, why is it that the ball is content? It goes bounce, bounce, bounce. It gets to you and either flattens out so you can't catch it, bounces up so you get it in the teeth, or just bounces over your shoulder with no explanation and is into left field for a hit that you never touched. What happens on that third or fourth bounce that's so special in baseball?
It's Sir Isaac Newton's law of gravity, right?
He did his research.
Or is it kinetics? I don't know. It's either gravity or kinetics, one or the other.
You got the power of the ball being put into motion, the fact that it interacts with the earth and that it gets its own spin. By the time it bounces 3 times, it's ready to go someplace else. And on the fourth one, that's when it gets to you and it goes right between your legs. I want to know why that fourth bounce either flattens out so you can't catch it, or jumps up in the air so you can't catch it, or flies around someplace where you can't stop it and hurts you, because there you are right in line, putting your body in way of that bouncing ball.
Well, and I mean, to be fair, that's why you wear the cup, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but Adrian, for some reason, felt constrained by said cup, and that he felt that it was an impingement on his whatever, uh, not to wear that
Which
cup.
he probably had never taken a hit like that before, and now he has.
And I'm
So
sure, and you know what? He didn't wear a cup after that either.
he figured the worst was over.
He figured, hey, I mean, matter of fact, I think there's a quote here from him. Uh, let's see. I saw the quote somewhere. He says, "Well, I've been playing for 14 years and I got hit in the nuts once. What's the chances of it happening again?"
We can figure those out for you, Adrian, mathematically, if you want. But it actually proves that it will happen again. So it's up to you.
He said that it was hurting me pretty much the whole game after that.
I'll bet. I would agree with that idea.
I would consider it brave if he walked back to the clubhouse and wasn't taken on a stretcher.
Can you imagine what it would be like legging out a double? That would not be good.
Well, again, I have to go back and look, but he scored the winning run, so I forget if he hit a double or what he hit, but I think he got. I'm pretty sure. As a matter of fact, now you got me really interested because I tend to think that he stole a base with the nut that way too. Okay, August.
Well, as they say about some people in baseball, they're nuts.
August 12th, Mariners, let's see, 2009. Yeah, well, it was. It was the Chicago White Sox versus the Mariners. And let's see here.
Any SBs?
Uh, Gordon Beckham got a stolen base. All right, let's go see. Felix Hernandez started the game. Wow, this was a. Oh, no, wait. Pickoffs. Adrian Beltre was picked off by Mark Burley. Come on, top 5 plays, and he's not in there.
Huh.
I mean, I don't
What do you have
put
to
him.
do to get in the top 5 around here?
Let's see. Bottom of the 7th, Beltre against Mark Burley lines out weak to the shortstop. Adrian Beltre in the bottom of the 9th leads off with a fly ball, right field, deep right field line. Deep. Bottom of the 12th, lead off, grounds out to the shortstop first, grounds out to the shortstop, weak shortstop. And then, let's see, Adrian Beltre in the bottom of the 14th, line drive, single to center field. Beltre goes to second base on a walk to Jack Hanahan. There's a name, a blast from the past. And then in the bottom of the 14th, Ken Griffey Jr. hits a single to deep right field. Adrian Beltre scores from second base.
He had to slide. So if you watch baseball enough, you will see something you've never seen. All you have to do is watch baseball, and you will see something that has never been seen before.
Scores from
It may not be
second base.
pretty, and that's why you're advised not to get your dauber down. Keep that dauber up, so when you see something that you haven't seen before, it won't overtake you emotionally.
I would have taken a cab from second taxi. Oh my God, man! It's funny because it. I mean, I remember, I just always remembered how tough I thought that guy was after that, man. I think I even said something to him in the clubhouse. Man, that's the toughest shit, stuff I've ever seen in my life. And I've seen some tough stuff.
Well,
Anyway,
everybody,
well, a tribute.
a tribute to
We were going
Adrian
to play
Beltre.
tribute to Jack Guilford today, but you know,
Adrian Beltre, I salute you. Don't
I
get your
don't
dauber
think Jack
down.
Guilford ever scored from second with a ruptured nut.
Neither did Smokey Burgess, despite the rule.
Well, Smokey might have. I mean, we don't know. We haven't delved into Smokey's career. I mean, I'm sure that if we sat down and read Smokey's autobiography,
I'm sure he took some hits during his time behind the plate.
yeah, I mean those days, I mean those guys were pretty tough bastards.
The
When it came.
phrase "rub some dirt on it" came from baseball, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that, but it's certainly applicable to baseball injuries.
Well, plus, they used to have them. Nowadays we see the catcher's got a chest protector and this and that. In those days, they just had that little thin chest protector, and on top of it, they had they didn't have the thing that came down. I
No,
mean,
it
you
came
didn't
across
wear
the
that in
front.
the major league. That was for little league kids.
And I tucked mine in so I wouldn't have to wear that thing hanging down because the catchers that I admired didn't have it.
Yeah, you put the family jewels right out to expose them. And like I said, we talked about. I mean, I didn't wear a cup when I caught until I got hit there. Then I wore a cup after that.
Never got hit again.
Never got hit again there. I hit other places. I got it in the mouth once. I got it. I actually had a ball bounce and come up under my mask
Ooh, that hurts.
and catch me in the chin. Pushed my bottom teeth, up into my lip.
Well,
And
people forget even in Little League that ball is 70 miles an hour.
yeah, blood is gushing all over the place.
Good
And
effort,
I
Vinnie.
thought, oh my God, I must have knocked 5 of my teeth out. But it was so much blood, but my bottom teeth had just pierced my upper lip. And it
Oh
was
yeah,
just, I had blood. I mean, the front of my uniform just was full of blood. It looked like somebody shot me.
that hurts. Catching, they call them the tools of ignorance, but it's an exciting position, and it's funny we were both catchers. It's
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I loved catching, man. It was, again, you see the game, you
yep.
see everything. How would you not? You get the best seat in the house. How would you not want to see that?
And the funny thing is, I don't like to squat anymore. I just don't enjoy a good squat behind the plate.
I used to love to squat. I forget who it is that I watched, but I thought it was the only position on the field that you could sit down.
Yeah.
I mean, you got that squat. And it was it? That was it was too early. There was a catcher in the '60s who used to really get his butt down, and I can't remember. He was kind of thin, and he could, his it almost looked like his butt was touching the ground when he was
Hmm.
down, and I definitely couldn't get that. But I like that feeling of almost that you're sitting on your heels.
Some pitchers are real low ball throwers, and that catcher has an extra responsibility because he now in his squat has to get low. So you put one leg out so you can get lower.
Yeah,
That exposes you, and it also traps you physically. You can't move to your right if your right leg is out, but you got to get lower. That ball's going to go to the backstop, and that's a real challenge. I admire catchers who can find ways to get lower.
yeah. I tried to do the leg out thing, and I couldn't. I didn't have the mobility in my ankle to
Yeah.
be able to keep my ankle flat and my leg, toward my body. It hurt my ankle too much
So when
to
it's
do
when
that because I mean I was just a year or two off of my ankle operation. So I
that's why
mean it
you
was
don't want to
just
get your dauber down because your leg can't.
well. The last thing I wanted to do was drop my dauber in the dirt.
Okay, I rest my case. Everyone should remember what Vinny just said. That's how you get through life with a reasonably equal feeling about the ups and downs.
Don't drop your dauber in the dirt. And on that note, Michael,
On that note, I believe we should shut it down right now. If you'll just do the close for us, we'll get some
yes,
Manischewitz.
Wednesday, by the way, I will join you from Mudfest, where
Okay.
for the second year in a row, remember what happened last year at Mudfest?
I think it was a Rolls Royce.
Well, they are bringing that Rolls Royce, not that particular Rolls Royce, but another Rolls Royce this year. And according to the memo I just got, the president of Rolls Royce America, Jerry Spahn, will be joining us at this event.
Good for him. Get out and see the people.
So we're considering that when Jerry Spahn is there, we're going to be able to put this Rolls Royce Cullinan
I know that.
through the mud once again.
Ask him how sales are going. I'm seeing Rolls Royce SUVs around Los Angeles in ever increasing numbers.
I'm
Although I
trying
still
to get
see,
him to give me one for long-term tester.
yeah, like
I don't
a
know if they're
year.
going to buy it, but if I get one, we'll drive it down to L.A. and we'll do the show from. Matter of
Just
fact,
drive.
we'll hire a chauffeur for the day,
There you go.
and we'll have him drive us around as we sit in the back seat and do the show.
And if he gets annoyed by the traffic, we can just tell him not to get his dauber in the dirt. He's driving a Rolls Royce. Things are looking up. Let's have a good time.
You're driving Mikey and Vinnie around. Don't get your dauber in your oil pan. All right, I'm
I
going.
look forward to that.
See you Wednesday after Lord's will and the creek don't rise.
Peace, love, and what?
Manischewitz, Mikey.
What a wine. See you, Ben.
See you Friday, man. See you Wednesday. Take care, man.
Wacky
Bye-bye.
Wednesday.
Thank you all for listening. Talk to you later. Where is my? Oh yeah, there it is. All right. Thank you.